Ghosts, spirits, poltergeists, demons. Do they exist? Is there life after life? Are there unseen entities around us? Can they communicate? Do you believe? What happens in the shadows doesn't always stay in the shadows. Live from Northwest Georgia, covering the region and beyond, this is Georgia Paranormal Radio. And now, here's your host, Mike Watkins.
Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Georgia Paranormal Radio. This is your host, Mike Watkins, and yes, I'm still alive and kicking. I hope you're doing the same there. Got a episode for you this week, episode number 31. Yeah, I know, we're not in production like we should be, and a lot of folks been sending me emails asking about things, and are we going under? Have we given up the ghost, if you'll excuse the pun? Have we went the way of the dinosaur with the show here? And the answer's no. Folks have asked also, what they can do to help to make things better. Keep sending me your show ideas. That would be nice. But the reason that we're not in full production, and I know last show I said we were going to try to step up production, but the reason that we're not is simply because of, it's not really simple. David Westbrooks and myself are both pretty busy with our day jobs and families and relationships. Also, there's just not a lot for me to talk about right now. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm never comfortable going on the air and having these talks with you folks if I don't have something good to say. I mean, sure, I could get on here and read my laundry list or my grocery list to you and waste your time and mine and get the show out. But I'd rather have something meaningful to say and something thought-provoking to say for our time together. It sounds horribly cheesy for me to say this, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. I respect the folks that listen to this program. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. Everybody who is hearing my voice, I absolutely respect you and thank you for giving me, 30 minutes or an hour of your time whenever we produce these shows. That means a lot to me. Folks contact me wanting my opinion or my advice on things, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that people trust me enough to let me into their mind for a little while, and I just want you to know that I appreciate everybody. Even those folks that never contact, never say hi, bye, or anything like that. I still know you're out there. Our numbers are showing that you're out there, so there's no denying that there's folks out there. I would say probably about 5% of you actually do, take the time and drop us a line and stay in touch with us, and that I appreciate tremendously. But for the other 95% out there, I still respect you, I still appreciate you, and I'm just thankful that there's so many folks that are interested in what I have to say and what we have to say, because this is not a solo project. My good friend David Westbrooks is a big part of my team, our team, and what we do, and he's a big part of this show. You folks love hearing David talk about his EVP captures, and you love hearing us talk about our war stories as they were, and unfortunately he and I haven't had a chance to go out in probably 2 or 3 months together to investigate anything. So our war stories are running kind of thin. I guess everybody's already heard all of them. We've got to go out and get a few more so that we won't bore folks. Cindy Westbrooks, David's wife, is also a big part of this show, and I hear she's doing better physically. She hasn't been on for Hot Topic Talk in quite a while, and we miss you, Cindy. The fans, the friends of the show, they miss you, absolutely. I got folks chomping at the bit, wanting to hear you and I have a good discourse on whatever just strikes our fancy. So, we respect you folks out there, and we thank you folks out there for your support. But we have been terribly busy with work, and not paranormal work, day job work, and you got to pay those big bills, We've also been, busy with family things that come up, and I've been busy in another area, a personal, private area. I've been dabbling in the old human romance there. I normally don't go down to that level, but, a little romance adds mystery to life just like the paranormal does, so that's okay. But this month, actually, will kind of be... it'll mark a sad month, because June is almost over as I'm recording this. It's June the 24th, and I'll probably get this released to you good folks by the 25th, or the 26th at the very latest. But we're not going to have an EVP special this month, folks. Yeah, it's a hard thing. David, like I said, David Westbrooks has been terribly busy, and actually hasn't had time to go out and collect anything new, and we haven't went into the archives because that is a monumental task. I've got about half of his evidence, and I've got a box full of discs, so remembering all the stories and the circumstances of where everything was caught can be daunting, and plus finding the time to get together for an hour or two to sit down and talk to you good folks and spend the time that we should has been a little problem. But hopefully with July we will get back on track with the EVP special, and hopefully I'll be able to meet my previous goal of producing 3 shows per month starting here pretty soon. Hopefully things are going to level off for us. Everybody's life gets busy. You just have to make time for what's important, and I've been neglectful in making time for you folks, and for that I apologize. Been trying to get the paranormal team up and active and find some place for them good folks to work, and hopefully we're going to have an investigation or two here in the next week or two, and I'll be able to report that on the radio show. That'll be interesting. We got a very interesting location that hopefully we're going to gain access to, and should be wild. So that's where we stand on Georgia Paranormal Radio Production. I know that was a long way to go for me to say that, hey, we've been busy, we're sorry, but we're trying to do better, and just send us your positive thoughts and or prayers if you believe in that, to make our lives level out, and maybe we'll have a bunch of good days in a row, and everything will just be smooth sailing, and we can get back to some semblance of normal. Of course, the unexplained and the abnormal is our life, so I don't know if that'll ever happen. Anyway, we're going to talk tonight about, we're going to do a little feedback and a little question and answer, and then we're probably going to dive into something a little out there. It's a personal experience I had back in the day, back when I was a wee shaver, and a near-death or out-of-body experience, whatever you want to call it. I guess there is a little bit of difference there, which we'll talk about later, but it's an experience I had when I was a child, and so it should be interesting. We'll see. We'll see. I want to go into a little bit of feedback here. Just a little bit of feedback. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep this show short tonight, folks, or today, whenever you might be listening. I'm recording it at night, so it's always tonight with me. But we're going to go into a little bit of feedback. The first thing I want to cover is I have gotten so many emails from folks wanting to join the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team. That's great. There's just one problem, and I'll tell you what I told them. And some of you that have sent emails requesting to join may even be listening. My team, our team, however you want to say it, I guess, I did kind of start it or co-founded it, so my team has not been busy. As a matter of fact, they're wasting away. And I'm very, very leery to take on new members right now. Not because you're not good folks, not because you're not dedicated folks and willing to get out there and work and learn and help people. It's just because I don't have anything for you to do. And again, I'm not gonna have a pity party. I went through that, God knows. But I'm not going to have a pity party about being a bad leader or bad this or bad that. The circumstances that we're in, though, just prevent us from being as active as, say, I don't know, Taps, who actually, has the big TV show and gets paid money for that. I work in a security-sensitive job. So does David Westbrooks. We both have clearances, for lack of a better word. Reputations are a better way of going. And in this area that we live in, Northwest Georgia, ghost hunting is seen as, folly. It's a fool's errand. There's no logic in it to people. It's a very polarized subject where we are. You either believe or you don't believe. And it's not, like I say, I'm not saying you're not a good people. You wouldn't do the work. You wouldn't learn. You wouldn't be there. You wouldn't participate. I'm just saying I don't have anything for anybody to do right now. A couple of my team members have stepped up to the plate. God love you, Dale and Charlie. You've stepped up to the plate and you're trying to get us that good investigation that I just talked about. I appreciate them doing that. But that's really going to be the first activity we've had in a very long time. So, can people join the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team? Absolutely. Anybody is welcome to join this team. If you have a spirit, forgive the pun, a spirit of, a willingness to learn, a willingness to work with other people, a willingness to educate and help the people that are having these problems, absolutely you're welcome to join. I just need you to know that right now we're running pretty slow. So another question that folks ask is, how much does it cost to join? Well, we do not charge anything to join. There are groups that do, and that's fine if it's done right. We are a volunteer group. We go out. We don't make any money for what we do. We can't guarantee results, so we don't charge the public, and I'm not going to charge the members for participating in something that is just a hobby. There are groups, like I said, that do charge membership dues, and they use it for getting access to places or buying equipment or supplies or all this good stuff, and that's fine. To me, though, when you have membership dues, you owe something to someone. And, you may have 20 team members that have each paid $20 a year to be members, and you may have an investigation come up and you've only got 5 slots. Well, how do you pick the 5 to go on this investigation out of the 20 when each of them have paid equally? Yeah, see, that's the reason I don't charge membership dues, because you have to make some tough decisions there, and I'm sure there are good reasons to do it, and there's reasons not to do it, but the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team does not charge investigation dues. They don't charge membership dues. The only thing we do charge for is your uniform polo shirt, if you want one, and who wouldn't, because they are snazzy, folks. Have you seen the pictures of those things? They are good-looking shirts. The lady that does those for me she's out in California. Her name's Lila Jeffries, and she does some good work, folks. And I mean, the polo shirts only cost us, even after being custom embroidered and everything, were only like $11 or $12 a piece, I think, or maybe $13 a piece. Good quality work. And anyway, that's the only thing that folks have to pay for. And of course, food whenever we have meetings or things. I don't buy everybody dinner. I couldn't afford to. But so no, there are no membership dues with the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team. All we ask is for you and your willingness to learn and cooperate and to serve. Not serve the team, but serve the community. And so yes, to answer your question, again, I'm taking the long way around tonight, folks. To answer your question, absolutely, we are taking new members. So there you go. Got some more emails here. That actually eliminated about 10 of them right there. Fella sends me an email. Actually doesn't include his name, and the address is not very clear. But the email says simply this: when is the best time to take pics or pictures in a cemetery to catch spirit images? Well, you tell me and we'll both know. Whenever the spirit is willing to give you that image. I'm a firm believer that you are not going to catch them, even though we say, you caught a ghost or you caught an orb. I'm a firm believer that you're not going to catch them. If they want to be seen and they want to be heard and they want to be photographed, then they're going to be seen and they're going to be heard and they're going to be photographed, okay? I have never seen anyone in my life make a ghost or a spirit do anything. So, I can't tell you that at midnight, under the full moon, when a lone wolf is howling on the ridge to the east, 23 miles away, that you will get the perfect picture of a full-bodied apparition. I can't tell you that. Whenever you can get them is when you can get them. Whenever they want to make themselves known is when you're going to get the evidence, and not a nanosecond before. So, I guess that may sound like a smart aleck answer, but it's just the way it is. Another email here comes from Ivan. Ivan over in Switzerland. He has written us before, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, Ivan says, belated congratulations for episode 30, which for my taste has been one of the best episodes in weeks. It would have had to have been Ivan, because we actually didn't do any episodes for several weeks. So, anywho, I appreciate the congratulations. It says, listening to David and I talking about the paranormal, playing EVPs, and sometimes leaving the core subject matter in order to embark on one of those tangents is just great fun. I really hope that you both will be able to continue this special kind of co-hosted show. He also says he'd like to suggest a topic for one of the future shows, although he doesn't know if it's something I feel like talking for the full length of the show about. He says that on several occasions I have mentioned that I once had a near-death experience. So why not expand on this a little and dedicate an entire show to this topic, which would be of huge interest to all of the listeners. Ivan, here you go. That's what we're going to do after I get done with this feedback, buddy. Something I've been planning on doing for probably over 3 or 4 weeks now. I just haven't actually had the time to sit down and do the legwork. So that's what the last part of this show is going to be about. So there you go. He closes with a P.S. After sending his kindest regards, that he's really hoping that Cindy's medical condition will soon improve so that she can participate in the shows and in the ghost hunting again. And tell her that he misses her on the show, and her uber skeptic points of view. Uber skeptic, I don't know that one. I guess that's Uber. I think that's a German word for super, I think. So super skeptic points of view. So anyway, Ivan, thank you so much for sending in that message. It's been a while since I've heard from you here. I'm just looking through my saved feedback, and it looks like he contacted us back in April. So, and this one he contacted us about a week ago. So, Ivan, I appreciate you sending that in, brother. And got a couple of more here just to go over with you good folks. These come from a good friend of the show named Richie Summers. Richie is a very dedicated fan. He's on my MySpace page on the top friends list there because he is such a dedicated fan. He's right there with JD and all the other good folks that listen and communicate with us so faithfully. And it's always good to hear from you, Richie, even though I stay busy and sometimes don't reply back as quick as I should, I know, but it's always good to hear from you, and I always value your opinions. I got a couple of 3 emails from him here, and the first one says he's been going back through some episodes of GPR, Georgia Paranormal Radio, and he liked the information about the police visiting us over there in the Dalton Cemetery. He's asking about the EVP training that David and I have been talking about doing and planning. Wanting to know if it's still on and what's going on with it. He says he hopes so. He could use the lessons, and a lot of folks could, Richie. A lot of folks could. The answer is yes. I think I posted something on the message boards not too long ago about it, but the answer is yes. We're still planning it. It's in the planning stages. Like everything else, it's kind of taken a back burner just because of life. And, hopefully it's going to be on. I would like to shoot for some time in October, sometime around Halloween, where the interest was going to be way up there. I had been actually thinking about doing a haunted tour of Lafayette, Georgia, my hometown here in the northwest Georgia mountains. But that is going to take a lot of work and a lot of planning and a lot of permits, and something I hadn't had time for. Maybe in a year or two that'll go, but this year around Halloween, I think an EVP training class would be great. If we can get our ducks in a row and get them quacking in harmony, then hopefully Halloween will be when that comes down. So good question, good information for everybody out there. You also send in an email message here that says, and this comes from about a week ago, about 3 days ago actually. It says you listened to show number 22 today. Great show, good information. Says that what you like best about the shows are David and I's take on things. The info's great. Don't get you wrong, with the way that David and I put our spin on things is what keeps you wanting to listen. The ITC concept is perplexing. It is to everybody. Richie, it's not just you. I pretty well stalled out on that. My computer about had a seizure. This is my server we're talking about had a seizure converting the video over, so it's a slow going process, and that's another thing I just haven't had time. It's out there, like you say here in your email. Yeah, it's out there, but it is perplexing. it says that you'd like to hear David and I go into more details on how to process EVPs. We can do that. The next EVP show that we do, which hopefully will be in July, we can do that a little bit. There's nothing like actually being able to show somebody, and show them how to tweak controls and how to do this and everything. But yeah, we can talk about it, and so yeah, we can do that. You also say that you'd like to hear some more theory type shows, like the nuts and bolts type stuff. You want to know the whys and hows and anything like that. So yeah, we can do that. Some technical shows and some head scratching shows. I guess we can do that. That's no problem. And you close cordially as usual there, and I'll read one more here, I do believe. And it says here, you think you've listened to all our shows, and I've got to read this. I know I'm boring people here reading the feedback, but I've got to read this. It says you really want to tell me how great of a job I do. Thank you. Thank you very much. I try. Not hard enough, but I do try. It says that he wants me to, or he says, and I'll quote this. It says, I think that you need to understand, if you don't already, that what you're saying in the shows and what you're doing for the community is very relevant. Now that one, that grabbed me. That's, a lot of folks have said some very kind things to me. One of the kindest being that listening to this show is like listening to an old friend, or sitting down and having a good talk with an old friend. And that touched me. But that statement right there, man, that does it for me right there. Because that's what this program was intended to be, is something very relevant and some kind of contribution to the paranormal community. And I just appreciate you saying that. No one has ever said it quite like that, and I appreciate you saying that. You also mentioned that you'd like to hear some shows about some newer equipment and techniques. We can do that. Also, some other guest shows. You'd like to hear some guest shows. Said that you enjoyed the Joey Ward interview. He was great, by the way. Joey is a good guy, very knowledgeable, and boy, he's moving up the old ladder in the paranormal community. I'm seeing his name in a lot of places. So Joey's staying busy and getting his name and his group's name out there. They've got a good reputation. And Heidi Brumbelow, yeah, she was good too. Heidi's over with East Georgia Paranormal. There was my friend Jack, and they got a lot going on. They got a real good reputation too. And Marty Seibel was a good interview. So yeah, Marty's up there in Virginia, I think it was. And so yeah, those were all good interviews. And yes, we are going to have some more interviews. The folks that you suggest, Richie, yeah, I'm friends with them, and yes, they do have their act together. So yeah, I know one of them pretty well. So they're good folks, and one of them, actually two of them, I think, are going to be on here in the next probably 6 weeks or so. We're going to have them on. They're good folks, and they're local. I mean, local by Georgia. So anywho, that's about all he had to say. One last thing he closes with, he hopes that he doesn't transfer command of the team. Probably not going to, I can balance, I can juggle. I am a master multitasker. What's a little less sleep, eh? Richie, I thank you for sending in all of that good feedback. And folks, I apologize for boring you with my ego stroking there, but hey, that's what the fast forward button's for, right? I should have told you that about 20 minutes ago. Anyway, that's all the feedback I'm going to read. I do actually have sort of an email contribution from an old friend of the show for this next part of the show. And but before we get into that, why don't we just take a little commercial break and hear from the good folks at the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team, and we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Hey folks, Mike Watkins here. Many of you know me as the host of Georgia Paranormal Radio, but I'm also the founder and general manager of the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team, which is an anchoring sponsor of this program. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team was founded back in 2004 as a scientifically based research and documentation team. This investigative group has over 17 years of combined experience in dealing with the paranormal, and the unique perspectives and specialties that each member investigator contributes really gives you the full package. You can trust the Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team to thoroughly, yet discreetly and confidentially, investigate and document any paranormal phenomenon that you may be experiencing. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team serves a large area of North Georgia, North Alabama, and even Southeast Tennessee. As always, their time and services are 100% free of charge. All they ask for is an invitation from you to let them investigate those cold spots, bumps in the night, or anything else paranormal. And contacting them couldn't be any easier either. Just go to www.nwgapit.com and check them out. The Northwest Georgia Paranormal Investigation Team, proudly bringing you Georgia Paranormal Radio and proudly investigating what you fear. Welcome back, good friends, and hey, thanks for listening to Georgia Paranormal Radio episode number 31, and thanks for listening to me ramble on like an idiot for 20 minutes there, hey? Actually, it's probably closer to 30, but hey, who's counting? What's a few minutes between friends, right? And at least I hope you feel that way. Well, over the commercial break here, before I get into the meat and potatoes here of the show, which, so much for it being a short show, it looks like it's going to run pretty long, actually, probably a full hour, huh? So, I guess I got more to say than I thought. Anyway, as I was doing the commercial break there, I stepped out and took a good fresh breath of air, and it's still hot, by the way. But I was thinking that back when we started this show, back in August or September of last year, we started this show, and it was my intention to do this show for my group. So at the most we would have, anywhere between 10 and 20 listeners, counting myself if I listened more than once. And I thought on a good day, there may be some local folks here in the Northwest Georgia area that listen, maybe even up to Chattanooga, which is just about, 20-25 miles from the old homestead here in Lafayette. And I thought, hey, maybe one day I'll strike it famous, and might even have some folks listening down towards Atlanta, or God forbid, even Savannah, my favorite city to lust after and dream about being there. But this has really taken me by surprise, folks. We have got folks listening all over the United States, and that surprises me. But then, when I find out we've got listeners from all over this planet, all over the world, listening to this show. And sure, the numbers are small, but there are people out there listening to this program that are, half a world away. And that blows my mind. And I just have to sit back, and I guess, like I said, I'm waxing sentimental now, but I just have to sit back and be amazed and say thank you. Thank you for listening to this, especially you folks that aren't in Northwest Georgia. It is Georgia Paranormal Radio, and I thought, hey, that might appeal to people in Georgia. I never thought that it would appeal to people all across the United States and all around the world. We've got folks over in Switzerland listening, and Raymond over in Germany, I know he's listening. I even got soldiers, American soldiers, that send me emails, and it's not necessarily that they're interested in the paranormal per se. They just say it's good to hear a voice from home, and somebody with something positive to say. And so, thank you. Thank you to everyone for listening, and thanks to everybody for supporting this show. And a special thank you to our troops, our American troops that are out there doing a job that I could not do. Working in law enforcement, people think is dangerous. It's nowhere near as dangerous as what the men and women that put on that United States military uniform go through every day. And they do it for me and you. Whether you appreciate it or not, I do. And I thank the men and women that are over there serving and putting their life on the line, so I don't have to. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody again for listening. And now that being said, I'm gonna turn off the waxing sentimental emotions there, and we're going to talk about near-death experiences. Yeah. There's a lot of information on near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences on the internet. One of my favorite places to go when I want to know something is the Wikipedia. People say, well, it's not reliable because it can be changed, and I think that's what makes it incredibly reliable, is the fact that it can change and can grow and can evolve. Of course, you have to take some of what people put in here with a grain of salt. It is edited by users, and eventually the garbage is filtered out, but, for the most part, I find it fairly accurate. And on the Wikipedia, I invite you to look it up and join in with me here. I'm just going to cover the high points here. It talks about a near-death experience, or NDE. They say it's an experience reported by a person who nearly died or who experienced clinical death and was then revived. Now, a lot of folks can argue that it can be explained by hallucinations produced by the brain as it loses adequate blood supply and nutrients, while others state that such an explanation cannot account for all the evidence. The experience has become more common in recent times, especially since the development of cardiac resuscitation techniques, CPR. Yeah. More people are surviving thanks to medical advancements and scientific advancements. More people are surviving things that would have killed them 50 years ago. So it's probably only fitting that these things have increased in frequency and in reporting, because there are more people surviving things that should have killed them. It says that back in 1975, a fellow by the name of Raymond Moody wrote a book called Life After Life, and that kind of sparked some interest in it. An interesting fact on here is that according to a recent Gallup poll, approximately 8 million Americans claim to have had a near-death experience. So that's pretty interesting. So what is a near-death experience? I mean, what does it involve? Well, they got some basic characteristics listed on here. And I'm not going to read these, verbatim. I'm going to hit the high points, and, I'm not going to bore you with something that you could read for yourself. They do use a word in here that I just love. I'm a big fan of big words. I have a good vocabulary, but this word was not in my vocabulary until now. The phenomenology, I think is how you say it, phenomenology of a near-death experience usually includes physiological, psychological, and transcendental aspects. There's a progression listed here. It says that 1, a person has a sense of being dead. 2, there's an out-of-body experience, a sensation of floating above one's body and seeing the surrounding area. 3, pleasant feelings, calmness, a sense of overwhelming love and peace. I've actually heard, though, that some of these near-death experiences are not nearly that positive. I mean, some people actually claim to be, pulled into a hell-like state, for lack of a better term. So number 3 might not be entirely accurate there. A sense of moving upwards through a tunnel or narrow passageway. Meeting deceased relatives or spiritual figures. Encountering a being of light or just a light. Being given a life review. Yeah, looking back over all your life. Well, that's something I wouldn't look forward to. I've had a weird life. Reaching a border or a boundary, and then a feeling of being returned to the body, often accompanied by a reluctance to return to the body. It does note here, like I said about number 3, that some people have also experienced extremely distressing near-death experiences. Yeah. Says here that folks often come out of these near-death experiences with a new insight into life and report a religious experience. I suppose that would have to be, dependent upon how religious you are. There's lots of things that would cause it. Cardiac arrest or heart attack. Shock and postpartum loss of blood. Loss of blood after delivering a child, or loss of blood after having a bad, an operation go wrong there or something. Septic or anaphylactic shock. Electrocution. Coma. Intercerebral hemorrhage. Yeah, your brain hemorrhaging. That's not a good thing. Attempted suicide. Now here's one that strikes with me, and I'll elaborate on this in a little bit, is near drowning or asphyxia. Yeah. Apnea. And according to this, depression can cause a near-death experience. Now it says that it should be noted that there is no clear evidence for a correlation between the cause of a near-death situation, whether it's a heart attack, an accident, a suicide, or whatever, and the appearance of that near-death experience to the person concerned. So basically everybody has the same experience, no matter what led them to that point. I suppose near-death experiences are like anything in this world, including the paranormal and parapsychological field, that it's pretty polarized. You either see it one way or the other. Either it's real or it's not real. Either you're having some kind of afterlife experience where the spirit's leaving the body, or you're not. There is, the scientific or medical view that says that it's not really that at all. That all it is the brain dying. And that, it can be brought on by, drugs given to someone at the hospital. It can be brought on by lack of oxygen and, short circuits in neural activity. All kinds of things like that. One view that doctors or skeptics, or I'm not saying all doctors are skeptical of this, but the skeptical view has of near-death experiences say that it's simply the brain dying, and there's misfirings in the temporal lobes, compression of the optic nerves, which would cause the tunnel and light sensation thing. Chemical changes in the brain related to serotonin and endorphin release near death, and just changes in the brain function. I don't know. There's a lot of things that point to that. The fact that that most near-death experiences are exactly the same would say, yeah, it's something that happens to everybody when they die, so it must be, it just must be the brain losing oxygen. Or you could, on the other hand, say, well, if it happens to everybody when they die, that's proof of a spirit and a soul surviving. I don't know. That's something that's open to interpretation. There have been studies done of brain mapping that show, electrical firings in the brain that would cause people to experience this. And the skeptics say there's no proof of it because they can't, have the experience themselves. It's not a subjective thing. They can't be in somebody's head or attached to their soul while they're dying, so it's only something that one person can experience. And I can see that. That's a logical conclusion. There's things that we can do without killing ourselves or dying that would produce similar effects. There's drugs, which I don't do and never have done, but there's drugs. I think one's called ketamine or ketamine that was used as an anesthetic on our U.S. soldiers during the Vietnam War. And they reported sensations of floating above their body and seeing bright lights. So, that's one aspect of it. It should be noted now that that's used as an animal tranquilizer, not a human tranquilizer now. So, there's cases where skeptics could be right. There's a religious look at this, that it's a way of finally, being in heaven or going to that great judgment, depending on your religious beliefs. I don't know. It's something very interesting. One can read all this good stuff on here on the Wikipedia about what causes near-death or out-of-body experiences. One can read about how somebody was dead for 20 minutes and had these spiritual encounters and all this good stuff. And I could even go and tell you that people, even celebrities, and there's a huge list of them, like Jane Seymour, Peter Sellers, Elizabeth Taylor, Robert Pastorelli, Sharon Stone, Gary Busey, Larry Hagman, Sally Kirkland, William Peterson, from CSI. He had one. Tony Bennett, Donald Sutherland, Eric Estrada, Burt Reynolds, James Cromwell, Chevy Chase, Lou Gossett Jr., Eric Roberts, Rebecca De Mornay, George Lucas, Ozzy Osbourne. Well, that might be the drugs. Elvis Presley. All those folks reported near-death experiences. One can go from that angle and say, well, it happened to them, so that's their personal experience. That doesn't mean anything to me. And one can go from the scientific point of view and say, well, it's all about the brain dying, and it's all, it's all in your head, so to say. I do have two stories really to share with you. The first one is from a friend of the show named JD, who sent this in to me to share. And this is his experience. So, and then I'll tell you about my experience. It says, here's what JD has to say. It says, in the summer of '04, he was running with his mother on a main road early in the morning, and there were no cars on the road. He was running to train for cross country in the fall. Shortly into the run, his mother looked back to him and said, "What a beautiful day," and he agreed it was beautiful. Soon after, he heard his mother screaming, "Look out," and he was struck by a van. Says he was knocked into the air so hard that his shoes were blown off his feet, still tied. He was thumped back down on the asphalt, and his head just barely missed smashing into the guardrail. He suffered from a lacerated liver, a crushed adrenal gland, broken ribs, a punctured lung, a fractured neck, a crushed humerus, a fractured femur, and a compound tibia fracture that stuck out through a gaping hole in his ankle. Good Lord, man. That's hurting me just thinking about it. Says he was so overcome with pain that he simply laid on the ground waiting for his mom to help. As the ambulance came and people stopped to help, he saw a bright light in the sky above his head, and he heard organ music. He was whisked out of his body, and he looked down upon the accident scene and saw vividly every detail. He spent 2.5 hellish months in the hospital and 2 more, thankfully better months at home recovering. He says it changed his life and restored his faith while also magnifying his already strong interest in the paranormal. And to this day, he knows that he was helped by his guardian angel and the earthly angels that stopped to help him. His out-of-body experience was no hallucination and is one of the most profound and indescribable experiences of his entire life. He also sent a second little note behind that says he also died twice while in the hospital, and he recalls those events vividly. And so, JD, good Lord, man, that's a horrible accident. So I'm glad you survived. And my experience was nowhere near that bad. But yours certainly left a mark on you, and these things do. Now one can talk about, like I said before, one can talk about drugs causing these things. One can talk about, psychological stimuli, things we've heard permeating in our mind, and as our mind is dying, that data is kind of replayed back and is used to form this near-death experience that we have. I have no problem with that, except this. What about when a child has that experience? And I mean a young child, which is what happened to me. I was 5 or 6 years old. Most assuredly, I wasn't taking any kind of drugs. Too young, really, to understand religion, the concept of heaven or hell or God or angels or any of that good stuff. Never even in my life heard about somebody dying and seeing a white tunnel and their loved ones being there on the end, and never heard any of that. I was a young fella, and so I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I drowned. Well, nearly drowned. I guess drowning would be if you didn't live, but for all intents and purposes, I drowned, and I was dead for somewhere between 1.5 to 2 minutes. The minute that I stopped breathing, I remember coming out of my body. I was in the water, face down. I was above myself, and I remember looking down on myself floating there. I can see it in my mind as clear as I can see the computer monitor and the microphones in front of my face right now. And I was looking down on my dead body, floating in this spring, this water, this small lake that's created by a spring, and near here in my hometown. It's actually in Chickamauga, just a little bit up the road. And very quickly, while I was looking down, I could look to my left-hand side, and there was nothing but pitch black darkness. I mean, you think you've seen a dark night, or you've been in a dark room. No, this is pitch black darkness, darker than any dark I've ever experienced in my life. To my right-hand side was the brightest bright that I've ever seen in my life, too. I've never seen anything. You could stare at the sun for 1,000,000 years and it wouldn't be as bright as the brightness that was on my right-hand side. And I was floating in the middle of those two extremes. Right in the middle. I was kind of on the borderline. And I could look down through the light and through the darkness, and I could see the people, noticing that I was dead in the water and jumping in to pull me out of this spring. And I could see my body floating there. And I didn't hear any sounds. I didn't hear any organ music like JD did, or I didn't hear any choruses of angels singing, or throngs of demons screaming and yelling obscenities. I didn't hear any of that. I didn't see anything moving in the darkness. I didn't see anything moving in the light. I was just there, in between, kind of a limbo, if you want to describe it that way. And as I looked down, I saw my body being pulled out of the water. And I saw him turn me face up on the shoreline. And I saw him trying to wake me up. And then I saw him, trying to push the water out of me and to get my heart going again. And as I was watching them revive my dead body, my eyes snapped open inside of that body. And there I am. And here I am today. Was it a real experience? I think so. Could it have been, the mind dying, lack of oxygen and all that? Maybe. Could it have been the result of drugs? No. Could it have been the result of psychological stimuli or some kind of post-hypnotic suggestion kind of thing? No. What happened, happened. It was an original event to me because I've never heard anything, about that until after the fact. And it's a very profound event. I don't really know what to say about it except that it happened. And, you could hook me up to any lie detector machine in the world, or any voice stress analyzer machine in the world, and it would tell you that what I'm saying is the absolute truth. That I looked down on my dead body, and I knew I was dead. And for some reason, I got a second chance. I must have had something to do. Don't know what that is yet. Maybe I've already done it and just don't know it, but for some reason I got to come back. And there was no grand ceremony about coming back, or no, it's not your time kind of thing. I just come back. And for whatever reason, I'm glad. I'll joke sometimes and say, having been dead before, I don't recommend it. I don't. But, folks have been asking about this near-death experience that I keep talking about, and that's it. And I'm kind of stammering here because I'm at a loss for words, because it is a terribly personal thing for me, and a profound thing for me. And when I think about it, I just shudder, because a person should never have to look at themselves dead. But anyway, wow, yeah, that's heavy, huh? So, what can you say after that? There's not much you can say after that. That's my experience, and for those of you that have been wanting to know, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I probably could have covered the subject much more. There's a lot on the internet about it, and there's a lot of books out there about near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. Sometimes saying less is more, which is something I need to learn in life, that less can be more. And I hope you found it interesting, at least. It's not an enjoyable story, but it's one of those head scratchers. Is it real? Are these near-death experiences something that we all experience? And if so, Is it caused by simple neurochemical and neurotransmitter malfunctions at the time of death? Or is it because we have souls or spirits that leave our body and retain something of what we were? There's something for you to think about for the night. And I guess I'll close with that, folks. I appreciate you joining me. I intended this to be just a little 30 or 40 minute show, and I see now that we're at an hour, right around there. I appreciate you listening. Appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and have a talk with your old friend. And yes, I do consider you friends. A lot of good people listening to this show, and a lot of folks I respect. And this has been Georgia Paranormal Radio, episode number 31. There's just one other little thing I'd like to mention before I give the customary closing thought there, or closing speech. And there's been some things going on around this country this weekend. A lot of celebrations of diversity. And, we here at Georgia Paranormal Radio respect diversity. Heck, we're pretty diverse, and we've got some diverse beliefs and opinions, and we respect diversity in all of its forms. And I have always believed in something that Gene Roddenberry taught on Star Trek, which is infinite diversity through infinite combinations. And diversity is a good thing, people. There's a lot of different folks in this world, different than you and different than I, and that's okay. You never know who might be different or what might be different between us. And so, respect diversity. Just because you don't agree with something or somebody, don't label them. Respect their beliefs, respect their opinions, respect their way of life. And as long as they don't injure you or harm you, really, what's the big deal? I say the same thing about fighting amongst religious denominations. Let's not focus on the 2% that we disagree on. Let's focus on the 98% that we do agree on and we do have in common. And let's just respect each other, respect the diversity that each person brings. And this old world might last a little bit longer and might be a happier place if we just respect each other a little bit more. If you go out and do any investigating this week or until I talk to you again, I encourage you to be careful out there and take an extra 5 seconds and just do things right, folks. Be safe. And, your friends will appreciate it. Your family will appreciate it. You'll appreciate making it home safe and sound. And I will certainly appreciate having you back here again next time on Georgia Paranormal Radio. Good night, everybody.
Underground, we are every time.